I asked Pat this morning, is there one position that you feel better about now than you did a month ago? And he pointed to the O-line. Do you share that increased optimism, increased
I
confidence?
certainly feel a lot better about it than I did in the spring. I didn't think, I thought we had a long way to go in the spring. We still have a long way to go, but I'm very happy with the progress that we're making. Excuse me.
And what has changed?
Well, I think the addition of Steph has helped us tremendously at left tackle. And I really the biggest factor is, when you look at it, we had a right guard that we moved to right tackle. We had a guy who was a part-time player between offense and defense, who came over to be the starting right guard full-time. Jimmy Morrissey was the center last year. He's the center this year. Connor Dentino was a fifth-year guy who never played. And then Steph, a graduate transfer coming in. And, those kids collectively, and really the entire room has really gelled the way that I wanted them to. Are we where we need to be yet? No, but that's always an ongoing process. So that piece of it has been huge. It really has. It was in the spring. I thought it was just a collection of guys, and that was where I wanted to take it. And they bought into what we're selling in that regard, and they've done a great job with it. And I think that's the biggest factor. It's all those kids are playing together, and they're starting to play like that unit's supposed to.
A lot of those places you've been at with Sean, the offense has gotten progressively better from year one to year two under him. I mean, do you have a feel for why he's able to do that pretty well as an offensive coordinator and a game caller?
Well, I told Charlie Strong when Sean took over in whatever it was 2011, I think. And I told Charlie after the season, I said, you'll really feel his impact a year from now. And that was true, and that was when I went to Colorado, he already was the coordinator, so it was already in place. But he's very passionate. The kids buy into him and his passion for the game, and they start to get a feel for how he calls a game, and particularly with the skill players, they start to really understand how he wants routes run. He's a very detailed, meticulous guy, and that's how he is. That's how he is off the field. That's how he is on the field. And he always used to say, when it starts to look like the diagrams, then we got something going. And that's usually what ends up taking place.
He said he loves having you here because you believe in a lot of the same things he believes in. Obviously, there's an off-the-field aspect to that, a big one. But schematically, what are some of those things that you guys sort of see eye to eye on philosophy-wise and have for a long time?
I think we see the game the same way. We see the run game the same way. We see the pass game the same way. For me, from my seat, relative to the protection and what we can execute. And as he said, we've been through a lot of battles together. So. My wife calls him he's my second wife. We spend a lot of time together. So we generally ride in together to work, and we have a chance to talk a lot of football. So we're really on the same page that way. And I think that from a coordinator seat, I think it's important that somebody, at least in this case, me, knows the system and knows what it's supposed to look like. And so we're really truly on the same page together.
Have you started to identify some number 6 and number 7 guys for that line?
The guys that have really made progress in my mind, Gabe Hoy is a guy who has made a lot of progress, who could potentially play this year. Jerry Drake has come farther than anybody that we have. I mean, he's a completely different player. Bryce Hargrove is a completely different player. Bryce Hargrove will definitely factor in. Owen Drexel, I think, is a solid backup. I was concerned about that in the spring, but he's like Jimmy, just a little younger version. But he's very smart. He studies the game extremely hard, and it's really really important to him. Who am I leaving out? Carter Warren's a young guy that's progressing. I like him. Brandon Ford's a guy that could potentially help us this year. So, so we're developing some depth. I'm not really sure yet. I mean, I'm getting close on who 6 and 7, and it'll be 8. And I've told them 8's probably the limit. The other 2 guys that stay with us in the 2 deep will be developmental players that won't get on the field, but that I see in the big picture being an important piece of what we do down the road. And really that's how it's been everywhere I've been. It's 7 or 8 guys that that's all you can really get ready to play in a game.
Are any of the, I mean, you mentioned Drexel. Do you have any other, could Hargrove or any of those other guys work at center, or do you have any other center options? Or is it pretty much
Connor
going-
Dentino would be my third option
right.
in there. Connor's played center. He's taken a few reps in there. I'll probably get him some more next week. So he would be number 3. Kenny Rainey is a young walk-on from Aliquippa that is not he's not ready for prime time yet. But Kenny Rainey has a lot of ability. He's just not. Frankly, and I've told him this, so he knows. He's a young guy, so he's not mature enough yet. But he has I think for a guy that came in here that we didn't know anything about, who dropped probably 25 or 30 pounds from last spring to now. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a good player for us down the road.
Foy's working outside, isn't he?
Foy's working at both tackles, left and right.
And he has the feet that can handle this position?
Yeah, he's probably more of a natural right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to work him at both, and he's a guy. He's improved a ton from the spring in terms of the run game aspect, and particularly from a protection standpoint. And Gabe, sometimes you don't even know he's in the room because he's so quiet, but he's a big physical presence out there, and I like Gabe a lot. I think I think his future is really bright.
Okay, thanks, Coach.